Today we're going to take a look at 4 video cameras available on Amazon for less than $70, a very appealing price, especially after you've been doing some research all weekend and you see a Sony 4K camera which costs nearly $1,000 and you're thinking, okay, that's a bit north of my budget and maybe a bit too much camera for me. How about a 1080p option? And you see something like this, which is a Panasonic, which is $227.99. It's a bestseller, nice camera, tons of features, won't break the bank, but you're thinking, okay, if there's something even less expensive, and you stumble across something like this. Now, it costs a third the price of that Panasonic at just $69.99. It's a $70 video camera. Nice feature set, extra batteries, and on paper, the specifications are very similar to that Panasonic. You do a bit more digging around, and you notice that there are a lot of cameras on Amazon for roughly the same price, offering similar features as the Panasonic. So you're thinking, okay, is this something I can use to archive my family's memories? Can I use it for grandma's 90th birthday? Can I use it for a soccer game? Can I use it for a recital? Can I use it if I spot Bigfoot or need to record a UFO flying overhead? Well, there was only one way to find out. So I went onto Amazon and ordered 4 cameras under $70. And each camera had to meet the following criteria. It had to cost less than $70. It also needed the ability to record at 1080p. Each camera also needed to have an LCD flip screen. And then finally, each camera needed to have at least a 4-star review. Now, this is important because those 4-star, 5-star reviews end up selling a lot of merchandise on Amazon. And sometimes those reviews are not entirely reliable, but we'll get to that later. So let's take a look at the 4 cameras I purchased. First up, a camera from Kimire, which was $63.99. Second camera from Wechi for $58.99. The third camera was from Linnse for $69.99. And finally, this camera from Sereer, which was $55.99. but records at a resolution of 2.7K, which means it was offering the highest resolution recordings, but at the lowest price. Okay, so before we look at the sample clips, just a few things to point out, specifically as it relates to the Kimire and Wechi cameras. Now, both cameras are set to 720p, 30 frames per second. This is the default setting for both cameras. Now, there's a reason for this. If you set the camera to 1080p, the only frame rate available is 15 frames per second. And that's essentially like looking at surveillance footage, which means it's unusable. So if you want smooth playback, the camera must be at 720p, 30 frames per second. Last thing to point out is that when you open the package, after ordering the Wechi camera, you're going to see a Gemantouch GT V3. Don't let this throw you. It's the same camera. Identical specs and appearance, just under a different name. But you may not know until you actually receive it. So let's take a look at the clips and I'll meet you on the other side.
I mean, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with it.
Okay, so we've looked at the clips, and I think it's fair to say that the video quality ranges from poor to not so great. This despite the fact that all four cameras received 4.5-star user ratings. Now, the Wechi only has 13 user ratings to get that 4.5 stars, but the Linnse, which is listed as Amazon's #1 best seller in camcorders, has nearly 2,000 user ratings. And when you see that number and you see that it's tagged as a #1 best seller, your first thought is it has to be a pretty decent video camera. So let's take a look at these two clips to get a bit of perspective. This was taken with a Canon PowerShot SD600 on the Carnival Glory off the coast of Canada. This particular footage was taken with a Samsung HMX QF20 not too far from where I live. So what's the significance of these two clips? Well, the PowerShot was released in 2006. The recording is at 640 by 480, 30 frames per second. So we're talking about a camera that was released over 14 years ago, but with footage that far surpasses the quality of the Wechi and the Kimire, which recorded video at 720p. The PowerShot footage looks significantly better than what was shot with these two cameras. The Samsung was released in 2013. The recording is 1080p at 30 frames per second. So the camera now is nearly 8 years old, but the recording quality surpasses that of the Linnse and the Sereer. The reviews are great, but these are not great camcorders. When you purchase a camcorder, you want it to be able to do things that you typically can't do when taking video with your smartphone. But here's the thing, your phone will take far better video than any of the video cameras reviewed. So if your intention was to get a camcorder because it has the ability to zoom or because it has image stabilization, these four cameras will fall far short of that goal. Now, just one last thing before I make my final recommendation. The cameras reviewed are probably all coming out of the same factory. If you take a close look at them, there's not a lot of variation in appearance. Some of them share the same exact housing, so there are different flavors as far as 720p, 1080p, and 2.7K, but they're probably coming out of the same factory. With your dreams of a $70 camcorder crushed, what are you to do? Well, you may consider purchasing a 3-axis gimbal stabilizer for your smartphone. Basically, you're turning your phone into a Steadicam, and once connected via Bluetooth, you can record and you can zoom, and it's roughly the same price. It's a good deal, and it's a lot of fun. So I would say this is your best path forward. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and click for notifications. Thanks for watching, and leave your comments below.